Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. So today we're going to be looking at the very interestingly weird item known as Athena's Raft. You may have never actually seen this item, believe it or not, and chances are you probably don't know what this item is. It is something that I found recently, and when I did find it I was like, man, this has a really cool graphic, as you can see. And it is specific to this particular item. Now, Athena's Wrath seems to be specifically pointed at Druids, and it should be very easy to figure that out because it has +3 to Druid skills. It is relatively low level, at level 42. It has a strength and dex of 82-82, which is not bad. I think most characters can come up with that, and the ethereal version is 72-72. It doesn't have any lifesteal, and doesn't have any mana steal, and those two are definitely points against it, but it does have some other interesting effects, and we'll go over those together. So right off the bat, you see that it has 50 to 191 damage, and this is with the maximum damage effect. My character is level 65, so he is getting 65 to maximum damage, so as you can see, it is 1 maximum damage per level. We have 75 to 252 on the two-handed, and this weapon is interesting because it is a battle scythe, and although the effects on this are rather nice, it is important to note that battle scythes do have relatively low range. I believe they're actually the lowest range of all the polearms in the polearm tree, and this does come at a bit of a downside to be used as a druid item because you're going to have to get a lot closer to targets to be able to hit them. And there will be a lot of targets that will have a larger range than you, who will be able to hit you, and you can't hit them back without moving closer. Now, the first effect here that we have is the +3 to Druid skills, and that is very nice. I think most people will agree that if you have a weapon, it's nice that that weapon has some + to skills on it. You may not necessarily be a + to skills character, a character who gains huge amounts of damage from + to skills, but there are certainly some trees in the Druid tree that do definitely benefit from + to skills, like rabies, or if you're building up your werewolf form, or maybe you want some pluses to your summoning tree, like your oak sage or whatever it may be. Having + to skills is certainly going to be a benefit. Now, Athena's Wrath also has 30% increased attack speed, which is definitely going to come in handy for a druid item. And I've seen a lot of druid items over the course of the game, and the funny thing is a lot of druid items don't have increased attack speed, and it makes me wonder, well, did they ever want this used by a shapeshifting druid? And then they'll even pair in shapeshifting skills. And I'm like, why would you make a item for a shapeshifting druid without giving it some form of increased attack speed, when you know that druids only get their increased attack speed from the weapon? So it's nice that it has that effect on there. We also have 150 to 180% increased damage, which is not too big of a variable. I mean, you're basically talking about, what, 30%? 5, 6, 7, 8. So you have about 30% variable on the ED. We have 65 to max damage based on character level, which is, of course, 1 per level. So at level 99, it'd be 99. At level 42, when you find this item, it's going to be 42. We also have +15 to Dexterity, which is always nice to have. It is going to give you a little bit of attack rating, which is important. So, the +3 to skills here is also going to be giving us attack rating. So let's take take it down to a base attack. And we have here 4,672, and you'll see that 15 attack rating actually does give us a little amount. Of course, we're also getting attack rating for being in the werewolf form. So in general, those + to skills are actually going to give you a fairly nice amount of attack rating. As you can see, about 700, 600, 700. It's not bad. We also have +65 to life based on character level, which is the same as the max damage, which will give you, obviously, the exact amount of life as your level. Now, we also have the ethereal version, and the ethereal version is much the same, but because of the max damage mechanic, it actually does sort of suffer on the damage. It's not really a huge bonus over the non-ethereal version. However, I imagine that once we upgrade this to the higher version, we'll see something different. Now, it is important to note that the Battle Scythe and the Thresher that this will turn into are actually surprisingly fast weapons. And with the 30% combined with the effects that we currently have, you're going to see that they're actually going to be fairly nice. So we're going to go ahead and upgrade the Athena's Wrath Battle Scythe to a Thresher. So let's take note of the stats one more time. So we've got 50 to 191, 82, 82, and 42 strength. And now we have 34 to 459, 118 dex, and 152 strength. So definitely an increase there in the strength for sure. And it's definitely going to be a lot harder to wield now than the original. I mean, if you take a look, comparing one more time, we went from level 42 to 60. We went from 72 dex to 118, and we went from 72 strength to 152. So a rather large increase in the statistics of this particular item. Now let's take a look at the ethereal version, and let's get an idea of what the ethereal version turns into. So we've got 75 to 252, 72, 72, and 42. And this takes us to 50 to 655. It has 108 dex requirement and 142 strength with the same level 60 requirement as the other. So interesting that this particular weapon has such an high strength requirement when it is transformed. And it's definitely something that you'd probably want to keep in mind. My character only has 110 strength, and I doubt that even if we threw a Hell Rune on this, would we be able to use it? Let's give it a try. And we're still at 122. 115. So as you can see, just a really, really high strength requirement for level 60. Now, does your character necessarily, you know, your specific character, is he going to be able to wear this? I mean, that just depends on how you built your character. You may be wearing some strength-enhancing equipment. You may be, you know, building strength specifically so you could use higher plate armors, whatever the effect may be. But let's go ahead and take these over to a character who can use these. I do believe I actually have a shapeshifter druid who could play around with these. And I'm pretty sure it's this guy. And he does not have the dexterity required. What do you know? Alright, so here we are on my shapeshifter druid. Had to give him a little bit more strength and dex so he could actually wield this item. And as you can see now, we have 2,300. Oh, sorry, that's Tornado. My bad. Let's go to Fury. So we're going to go to Fury, which is 270 to 3,663 damage. And the ethereal item is 406 to 5,223. This is the upgraded version, by the way. And we're going to take a look at the speed of this item versus something like the Buriza Do Canyon, which is very, very fast, mind you, but is not really plus to skills or anything that we might want. So let's go ahead and head over to the Black Marsh. We're going to make sure we have both the same skill, which we did not do last time on the on a similar video. And I'll have the panel open when I do the attacks so that you guys can get a good idea of what kind of damage this is doing. Alright, so first off, we're going to get a baseline with the Buriza. So as you can see, the Buriza is actually surprisingly fast. And definitely a interesting weapon as far as speed is concerned. So let's switch to the Athena's Wrath Thresher. And I feel like the Athena's Wrath Thresher is very similar in speed. It doesn't have some of the unique characteristics that the specifically the Buriza does, and I noticed right away that my survivability went way down because of the lack of the freezing effect. But it definitely seems to be the right speed. One of the main issues, though, that I'm noticing is that it does not have any lifesteal whatsoever. And so maybe if I were using something like Hunger instead, I probably would have been a little bit safer. I just want to transform. God, these guys poison out the wing wang, don't they? Leave me alone. It would help if I had anything more than negative resistances in hell difficulty. That certainly does pose an issue, mind you. Anyway, final thoughts on this particular item. It's fast enough to be used as a druid item, but it seems to be more of a intermediary weapon. I can't imagine that this is better than a Tomb Reaver Cryptic Axe or a Rib Cracker, an Eth Rib Cracker with a Zod rune in it, but it would certainly be a lot easier to come by than an Ethrid Rib Cracker with a Zod rune in it or a Tomb Reaver Cryptic Axe. It's also much lower level than either of them, and I feel like this could be a solid weapon for a shapeshifting druid until they manage to come across something better. And the low level requirement of it at its, when you find it at level 42 would actually serve you for quite some time. And I imagine that if you didn't have an Eth Rib Cracker, you were on a shapeshifting druid and you just needed a weapon for a little while, this one could serve you until you get to the level 84 requirement that is on the Tomb Reaver Cryptic Axe. Or if you were happening to use the the ethereal Zodded Rib Cracker, that's up to you. That is also a very nice weapon, and once you get your hands on that, you could replace this one with that one. All in all, I think it's a very interesting weapon. It has a very pretty graphic, that's for sure, and that is the ethereal version of the same graphic. I mean, it certainly is cool. You ever notice that the shadow disappears on the ethereal version? You see this? Here's the shadow. And there's the shadow gone. So the ethereal versions do not have a shadow, which is pretty funny. As far as socketing this item goes, I probably wouldn't waste a socket on this. But if you did specifically want to use this for quite a few levels, it might be decent to throw a socket in it. And what would you probably socket this with? Probably a shell rune to make it even faster. It's probably not worth spending like a 15% IAS, a really nice 15% IAS jewel on. So just a shell rune for the additional attack speed would probably be nice. You're going to have to get lifesteal from somewhere else, or you could throw an am rune in it for some more lifesteal. But I feel like overall the shell rune would be your best bet. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, and keep watching.